So I'm just gonna start. Greetings, Hobo Cadets, and happy National Chocolate Chip Cookie Day. This is Chris Vella with Noble Savage. Our sponsor, our main sponsor is Active Articulations. Active Articulations is an amazing consultation firm. Recently, they started doing a new program to do with the whole COVID situation. So if you need consultations to do with that, they're the people to go to. But in general, they help with business consultation. So if you want your business or the business you help manage to do better in general, give them a call. I'll give you a link. And also, this month, I have another. I already have 2 sponsors. So I'm also being sponsored by Rosa Forty's Art. She's having her first solo show this month on the 27th. It's called Divine. It's in New York City, and the location's a secret. Okay, so this episode is entitled, What is a Safe Financial Asset Today? So I jot down some notes for some information I literally pay to have. And now I'm gonna give it to you so that because the Great Reset is clearly happening, right? And you probably want to be able to afford at least the same quality of life that you have now afterwards. Probably better, but I digress. So, US market's up like 1%, but it is slowing. The EU market is up like 2%. Yeah. Amazon didn't do as well as people expected. People are worried about inflation. And they're worried that the Fed is going to start charging interest because, believe it or not, our entire economy is based on being loaned money that's based on nothing. So basically, it's like if I gave you a sheet of paper, convinced you it was valuable, and then made you pay me back double what I convinced you it was worth. Anyway, let's go on. Inflation worries. Asian stocks sank as well. So believe it or not, US and Europe doing pretty good right now. Hong Kong went down, which makes sense because Hong Kong is basically being wiped out by China. I don't know. Americans don't know what Hong Kong is. Hong Kong used to be a British colony within China, and in like the 90s, the British, for like no reason, decided to hand Hong Kong over to China, and China pretended like they were going to respect Hong Kong's independence in terms of them making their own rules for about 20-ish years, and now they're not acting like that anymore. It was before the lockdown, by the way. Like, believe it or not, everything that's happening during this lockdown was happening before the lockdown, and they didn't know what to blame it on. And now they just have this convenient thing to blame it on. Isn't that interesting? So, anyways, we continue. So China, the CCP really, which is the party in control of China, the Chinese Communist Party, is pressuring tech and private education. It's pressuring the stocks. And what do I mean by pressuring? It is literally hassling them as though they had broken the law if they make too much money, and accusing them of of monopolizing if they come anywhere near the ceiling of monopolizing, unlike in America, where it seems the powers that be that want to control everything, or yeah, they can't use, like, it's against Western values to let the government do that. So it has to be like, oh, the Americans are doing it to themselves, so they have to use private businesses. Whereas in China, it is seemingly the opposite, where it's improper for a private person to make more money than someone in the state hierarchy. It's more feudal. So they can just kind of hassle you for nothing, basically, if you make too much money, till you are either robbed or maimed into being poor enough that they feel you are not a threat to their dominant posture. Sorry, I'm thinking of a pyramid scheme. Anyway, sorry. I wish I could share all my thoughts, but I have to go one thing at a time. So, where were we? We were at... Yeah, and, and they're cracking down on private tutors. Yeah, they're saying it's because of income inequality. So, like, I guess it's bad if you work harder because you want your kid to be smarter, so you pay for a tutor. That's bad, because then the other kids, they might feel bad when they learn from your kid. Anyway, China prohibiting foreign investment. I don't have to say anything about that. I just love that, because I don't like that we invest in China, really. I think we should have stopped when... The 30s? In the 30s is when we should have stopped for good. Or at least until something changed, right? But that's not what... I think it was the 30s. Was it the 30s? When does the communist revolution happen in China? No, it couldn't have been the 30s, right? It was like the 60s. But as soon as they started just killing people in mass, I would have stopped investing in them. Call me a moral busybody. Yes, this is all for fairness, by the way. But really it's because, like I said, so over there, people, they make money, and making money is the only way to not be oppressed by this horrible government. And they are still oppressed. It's just you have to bribe people, because it's all corrupt. That's what it's like over there. So when they make too much money to the point where it's like, oh, so no one can oppress you, then what they actually do, when you've reached the promised land, then they take out the fucking hammer and they fucking nail you to the ground. Anyway, whereas here, this quality of life is so good that the poor are fat, and so what? So if you work hard here, you probably have some sort of pathological thing making you work hard, good or bad. It is what it is. Because if you don't have something making you work, then you have something making you not work, and it's probably making you destroy yourself. But we can get into that later. I digress. So essentially, there's a bunch of pathological psychopaths that are pretending to be like private businesses in this country. And they're private businesses, corporations, regulated, but basically they're doing central regulation. They admit it now. I can't even. It's like people can't fucking read. Anyway, I'm sorry. I'm gonna finish the page before I have some coffee. So they're the Chinese Communist Party is clamping down on gaming as well. It says gaming is opium for teens. So that's a basically they're just, you know how they're like, oh no, the Chinese economy is gonna overtake us any minute. No, the Chinese commissar is taking his hammer and breaking all those people's legs. Okay, you know, I'm just reporting the news. So the Chinese stocks are down, and Chinese tech is down, and yeah, and I've pretty much been saying the same thing the whole time, that the US sort of encourages a monopoly on power and private businesses, and China already has that in its politics and government, and so enacts what we claim we would enact, and they claim they would enact too. Like, it's weird because a political party is a private entity. Everything's a private entity. Public entities are fantasy. Okay, I got my coffee, guys. So I can continue. We're not done, guys. We're not done. That's one page of my... That's page 1. This is page 1.1. So, fucking... The US Fed says it's confident. Don't listen to them. Fed is happy with the progress in the recovery, and they say they're coming closer to maximum employment, which of course is an abstract fantasy, because maximum employment, how do you decide if someone should or should not be employed? That's an opinion. And I know that, yes, no, ideally everyone would be employed. You know, ideally everyone would be a millionaire and pay taxes, you know, and be employed and give all their money to charity and still have it, you know, like, some people are disabled, some people have families they got to take care of, and they have someone else taking care of them. And so it's more optimal for them to you know what I'm saying, basically, max employment. Max of what? Okay. Fed is implying it will show. So in 2020, the Fed started buying 120 billion in bonds, and it's implying it's going to slow bond purchasing, which is going to basically... What does it mean if the Fed is buying with tax dollars, not even really with tax dollars, but it's sort of, if the Fed is buying with the, say, public treasury, bonds, properties associated with business, artificially inflating their price because the government will pay that price without having a personal risk, and then it stops. What that's going to do is it's going to make it so the price goes where it's going to go. And I even misspoke, because it's not even it's not even inflating the economy right now. Right now it's stopping inflation, and as soon as they stop that, the inflation's actually going to fucking rise, because that's where the economy's going, because they keep printing their money. Bonds in 2020, Oh yes, and the Fed. So I mentioned earlier that we have a dead economy, and what does that mean? A dead economy means that our money, like I said, so I give you a piece of paper, and I'm like, listen, that's money. Okay. It's like an IOU, but now you owe me for giving you that IOU. And you owe me twice what that IOU is worth. And now I get to convince you that that piece of paper is worth something that you have to work hard to make two of while I enjoy your stuff. And then of course you come back and then I take what you worked for and say thank you, see? Aren't you happy I gave you that paper? Anyway, sorry. I digress. So that's what a debt economy is, and that's where the paper money that that you use to do the stuff that they're like, you need a COVID pass to do this now. It's worthless. Anyway, and what? But I digress. Buying ends. Yeah. So what? They haven't been charging that much interest because to keep their economy afloat, because they've been printing money and giving it to their chosen few for so long and calling it free trade and calling it capitalism, but of course using the lie that it is capitalism to regulate the economy and enforce basically like textbook Marxism for the last 100 years. You can look it up. Pillars of Marxism. Anyway, it's not the point. Point is, I was talking about the Fed, and I was talking about how it's going to raise the interest slowly, gradually. So basically, they're acting like they're just nice guys for giving you the piece of paper and being like, well, don't worry. Instead of paying me back 2 pieces of paper or whatever 2 pieces of paper is worth, you can just pay me back a piece of paper and a little sliver, or just give me back the piece of paper when you're done with it. But really, they're going to change their mind in a couple of years, which is going to make things get even worse. Which is why you don't take loans from people that you can't trust and who are full of shit and don't actually believe in personal responsibility. Anyway. So they're talking like they're going to increase the interest rates in 2024. But there are federal officials pushing to raise it earlier, so it's probably going to go up in 2023. Inflation was up 5% in June. It's not normal that every month it's up 5% the last month. If you add up 5%, that's a few. It's more than half of your currency. Anyway, that's what's been going on for since COVID, because this was just the only way we could sustain anything, right? The only unsustainable thing that mysteriously the communists have been asking for all along, and they don't seem to care when there's no reason to do it, and it actually doesn't work and hurts everything and everybody. Mysteriously, it's just such a mystery. Anyway, this is hike. Yeah. Yeah, the Fed is claiming that the inflation is going to go down to 2 after the crisis is over. And that basically implies that, there's going to be complete decimation. and that the crisis hasn't even started yet, even by their standards. That, or they're just lying. And really, they're both true. The inflation is going to keep going up unless they start deleting money digitally, which I approve of. Hell, I approve of. I do. They printed it. They didn't even print it. They pressed enter. They can press delete. That's me. That's prove me wrong. So the idea basically of the Delta variant is making the economy slow, the growth really slow, because the economy isn't slowing, it's growing more slowly. Yeah, but basically those interest rates are not going down until like 2023, and those people printing money and giving it to their friends in the stock market, that's going to make it so stock markets inflate and safe financial assets inflate. That's what we were talking about, right? So safe financial assets are going to inflate until 2023 because of what these jackasses are doing by riding our economy around like a moped that they don't really care about. God bless this coffee. So, I feel weird saying this. U.S. consumer spending rose 1%, which just means normal people spend a little bit more money. Because a consumer is just anyone. Like, a lot of these words aren't, like, that's the weird thing about the way these people have structured economics. They try to talk about classes, like they try to act like they can classify people, to act like they have power over you. But you'll notice that all of these classifications are just what you're doing at the time, like what position you happen to be in at the time. A consumer. What's the difference between a consumer and a worker? The time of day. Let's continue. The treasury yields are down like this much because prices are rising because of inflation. And when prices rise, especially when the economy's been screwy this long, people become more, they keep their money rather than buy crap. So people have been keeping their money, and yeah, the recovery is sort of hanging on by a thread because of the idea of the Biden rebound, which is an oxymoron, and it's not because of Biden. Okay, like Biden is completely ineffectual. It's like saying, oh, this was the best or worst sex ever because of the condom. Like, that's not what's going on here. We know that. Anyway, so So really though, because they keep printing money and giving it to their friends, and inflation sort of has to continue to prop these dumbasses up who claim that they're experts in something and have been doing this for like 100 years and telling you that they know economics, and it's the same thing as with this, is with almost everything today, where when you argue with the lefties, they're just like, no. In fact, this is the right wing. In fact, this is freedom. In fact, you should agree with me and do the opposite of what you believe in. What? Yeah, it's just always been like that. So they've been, not always, for the last 100 years, since 1913, and they've been pushing this philosophy called Keynesianism, where basically, like I said, you you have a central bank that hides behind the idea of free trade by throwing money around. And yes, of course, we had a fully functioning, like, people were more literate and self-sustaining before the Federal Reserve. And we had a Federal Reserve earlier, and it was so malignant that, like, we had to stop it. But then they decided to do it again. It would work this time. This time it would be real communism. Anyway, so yeah, of course this is fucking live, basically. Like, what do you want from me? So the economy's in all-time highs for, like, no reason, you know. But really the fear of lockdowns and restrictions, and COVID and the Delta variant, will lead to slowing the economy. And what? A Gallup poll just said that 45% of Americans say the COVID situation is getting worse. And in June, 89% of Americans said that it was getting better, and 3% of Americans said it was getting worse. So people are starting to figure out what's going on. And anyway, that's my opinion. So, because this is a Gallup poll, and really the question is the Gallup poll going to ask, do you feel like this long con has gone too far? Or is the Gallup poll going to ask, are you worried that COVID is getting worse? Because of course they're not going to ask, are you worried this long con has gone too far? You know, but it's pathetic at this point, you know. At this point, you're not even defending anything. You're just taking a beating and trying to, like, make it look like it's us. Like, I'm not taking that beating, bro. I'm not taking that beating. I'm never taking that shot. All you're gonna do is lose a supporter, bro. And I promise you, you might not think I support you, but you'll lose a supporter. Anyway. Gallup polls, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, and the Delta story has increased avoidance behavior. Like I'm saying, it doesn't necessarily mean people are worried about catching the cold and dying. That means that people are starting to realize just how malignant whatever's going on is, and are wondering, like, where the source of the problem lies. Let's just be frank, because I would have gone more into, I don't know, fantasy. Yeah. So people aren't spending money as freely as during the first lockdown, when even I was telling myself it wouldn't last this long. I'm still, in my head, this shit isn't happening, because hell, I want to take in more people before. It's great. This coffee is hitting me good. So, household debt spiked the most since 2007, right before the economy collapsed in 2008. So, we're gonna go through about what happened in 2008. What happened in 2008? Was there a new president in 2008 that said he was gonna, he said, yes, we can, and he said he had a whole bunch of plans, and I remember I voted for somebody in 2008. I was all about him. Everyone was all about him, and I thought, well, finally America's gonna be on the right track. I remember. And then about a year later, something happened. Or no, nothing happened at all. And it was like no one cared. like all of a sudden, all of the goals that we had supposedly and the things that we cared about as a community, all of a sudden they didn't matter while this person was president, and everything got much worse. And then there was this movement called Occupy, and I became a part of that, in fact. And then when we didn't want to join any specific political group, the big companies claimed to represent us and basically represented us as being communists. And then I left, but I seem to remember a guy I voted for right before 2007, 2008, right around that time when but I don't remember. I can't think of the name right now. So, so most, if not all, of the bullshit I just mentioned is due to COVID. Like I'm saying, so basically the second lockdown, if you want to call it that, even though if you really look at all over the world, it never stopped. It never stopped. It's like let's say something happens in America and they convince everyone in America to do it, and then in France they go, look, we got to do this. We got to be in solidarity. It's in solidarity with the Americans, and so the French have to be convinced, and then eventually the French do it. And then let's say the people in Germany, they see the French doing it, and the people in Germany have to be told, like, look, the people in America and France are doing this. Do you want to be the guy who doesn't care about other people? Blah 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 blah. Now, by the time the word has gotten to Germany, America has already finished, right? So Germany starts. And then the Americans, they see, oh, Germany's getting it again. Oh my God. Oh, we better start it too, or we're gonna undo all the progress we've made. Blah 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 blah. So do you understand that there is no second wave? This is the same wave going around because it was stupid in the first place. None of this. No, it makes sense if you know they're lying. Then it makes perfect sense, and the science is on point and everything is verifiable, and there's a whole bunch of facts you can point to. You can point to the patent office and facts, and then you can go to the TV where it's all some abstract bunch of stereotypes about how China just comes up with just disease coming out of China, and the Chinese they just eat disgusting things, and who's the expert? The guy with the camera agrees with, the guy with the director behind the camera agrees with is the expert. Like, because I have a camera right now, I'm an expert, guys. I didn't just take this information from people I trust. Now I'm better than you. Anyway, guys, I'm going to continue. So the Biden bounce is basically over because the COVID nonsense, which the plan is to make it forever. Now, I'm sure that that's a self-destructive plan, by which I mean at the end, they're going to leave the people still dumb enough to be pushing it to sink with that ship. Like, it's obviously not a sustainable plan, but if they don't, there's just, sometimes you make a decoy. Sometimes you make a decoy so something looks worse than you. And that's what these people are. These follow the science. We care so much about your kids that we don't give a fuck about them. Do what we say or else. People, that's what they are. They're basically, whoever the big Nazi in charge is, they're the only ones that look worse than them. They're loud, boisterous, uneducated, self-righteous. They call them Karens, right? Global economic recovery takes toll on Asia economy. Yeah. So COVID's screwing up the global economic economy and the Asian economy especially. Probably, not probably, it's because people don't want to do business with China anymore, and China knows that, and so good. I'm not mad at this. Like, it's like watching parents that don't want to tell their kids that they're fighting. And it's like, no, maybe you should sort it out. Maybe, I don't know, your kids rely on you guys having a sincere relationship of some sort. Fear of Delta variant. Fear of new lockdowns and restrictions. China's manufacturing is down. Exports and recovery is slowing down in China. And with China's economy going down, the whole world economy is going down, which should tell you a little bit about the world economy and the type of guys we do business with, unfortunately. Because, anyway, why am I being so hard on China? It's not even like, oh, politics. There's other communist countries, guys. But there isn't a country on earth with suicide nets outside giant hellish factories, and then people like me buy it, who live in comparative utopian paradises, and we pay thousands, and these people are getting paid me. And then those people in Africa that dig up this shit, they get nothing. So you could have paid like $50. But no, because you live in a country where there's human rights, so you pay human rights prices. So you pay like the iPhone was made by like your dad or the guy down the street, someone in the middle class, That's why I fucking hate these fuckers. Because they act like the Cold War's fucking over. And just look at them. They're at war with their own people. It's not over till they are. Fight me about it. So why, continuing, why is the Chinese economy down, and that dragging down the entire European economy, which is dragging down the world economy, which is kind of good because we shouldn't be relying on China? So there's a city in China called Ruli, right? And this week, Ruli, they found 2 more COVID cases, okay? That added, that created, instead of 21 cases, 23 cases in this city called Ruli, okay? Ruli has a population of 270,000. They logged it all down. That's a border city with Myanmar. So now Myanmar is fairly well fucked. And I guess anyone who does business with China through Myanmar, and so on. Now, we know that they didn't do this because of some cold, but nobody cares. Nobody cares because nobody's willing to deconstruct the scientific establishment. Nobody cares about the scientific method. Nobody gives a fuck about the scientific method anymore. They just wanna, because they know that if they do it just right, they get a promotion. It's pathetic. It really is fucking pathetic. You're literally so pathetic. You're a net negative on the species. Like, and it's It's actually visible phenomena. Anyway. The more business shuts down, the higher inflation will rise. Okay, guys. Crazy fucking thing. We've reached a conclusion. What is a safe financial asset today? So, gold and silver. Gold and silver basically steadily increases with inflation. It's the safest bet that you have if you want to save money. Digital, you can buy digital gold or silver. It's literally just digital shares. It's like an IOU, a little piece of paper, but instead of me saying it's worth something, it's actually something worth a certain amount of gold or silver. Anyway, so you can buy digital, you can buy physical, but inflation's going to keep increasing till 2023 at least. And that means gold and silver are going to keep going up. So you buy gold today at 15. Tomorrow it'll be not tomorrow. In a year it'll probably be $30. You buy it at $15, you get it at $30. Of course, I'm using imaginary numbers, but that's what I mean by safe. Because unfortunately, the reason why it's going up, it's not going up. The dollar's going down. So imagine relying on the dollar. Don't do it. As economy, as economy sinks, Fed will print more and lower the currency, and the higher safe assets rise. Exactly. I'm saying it before I have to look at my notes, which is good. So oil is usually considered a safe asset, or I should say in past decades has been considered a safe asset. Nowadays, it's politically retarded because it's such a safe asset that they can play with it however they want. They're always gonna, they know everyone needs it. They know they don't have a better fuel or that they're willing to use. So they can do whatever they want. So basically, here's the thing. Oil is down oil is down because people aren't traveling anymore, because people are worried about the COVID nonsense. So what you gonna do? But the thing is, supposedly, or I don't know if it's true or not because I never know, when I look at big businesses, it's really tempting for me. Maybe it's the way I was raised, maybe it's the way I was educated. It's really tempting for me to look at the big businesses like they know exactly what they're doing, they know the future. Supposedly, though, these big businesses, or not supposedly, fact is, these big businesses have been overproducing for the last couple of months or so. Why? Because supposedly these lockdowns were going to end. So they had to produce more than at the beginning of the lockdown. So what does that mean? That means that because these people are going to lock down again and make it harder to travel again and make people not want to travel again, even if it's not harder to travel, because all of these things are going to happen, there's going to be more supply than demand. And when there's more supply than demand, obviously the prices go down because they don't have to come to you. They can just go to whoever gives it to them the cheapest. But right now, crude is up 40%. So basically, don't buy into oil right now because it's going to go down. Unless Israel goes to war with Iran. And the sad thing is, it looks like they might. Because some drone... Okay, watch this. This is how thirsty they are. So there's a ship associated with Israel, okay? Associated. And then a random drone attacks. They don't know. It's an attack. It's a drone. Unless it's got an Iran flag on it, you know, and the TV pops up from the drone like in Spy Kids, and, you know, the guy in charge of Iran introduces himself and tells you his evil plan. Anyway, but they blame this drone on Iran. It could have literally just been whoever's making money on bombs today. You know, anyway. Or oil. Because apparently if there's a war between Israel and Iran, the oil prices will go up. And lastly, we have Bitcoin. Bitcoin is being pretty steady, like gold, right now. And its ceiling is 50,000. So if it gets to 50,000, it's going to explode. Its floor is 25.5 thousand. If it hits 25.5 thousand, it's going to collapse. You should sell at 25.5 thousand. And I can tell you right now, it's going to hit 25.5 thousand. It's just gonna. Now I'm going to sell and then buy more when it goes down. I'm not saying, oh, crypto is this bad, blah, blah, blah. I have Stellar Lumens, I have so much, I have everything but Doggy now. Doggy was a bad investment. I swear I spent like $50 on it and it was a mistake. It was never, I'm so sorry guys, I know I like the dog too, it was never a good investment. I don't know what you guys were thinking. You know what it's like the dollar without the people with guns behind it. So it's literally if I just gave you this piece of paper and there was nothing written on it, it was just a picture of a dog's face, but there was millions of identical pictures of that dog's face and millions of printers that only printed that dog's face, to the point where you almost got annoyed by it. God, you see, it's unvaluable. Do you understand how it's unvaluable? Like, you have to pay me to get that back now. Anyway, so what? So it's probably going to go down when certain regulators say we're going to do this, this, and this to regulate this currency. That's probably when it's going to go down. And, yeah. After that, I expect that it'll stay down for a little while, and it'll go up when it enters the actual market. But we'll have to see what happens, and I'm going to try to make another video today. Thanks for your time, guys. Have a good evening. Bye.